Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Alex G titled Gnaw. Gnaw? Gnaw. And if we switch over to here we have ourselves a track on YouTube. Apparently this is a request from Permacute. This is their personal favorite as I understand it as part of these weekly videos. I thought it was initially, there was a Gnaw kind of dubstep song that I thought was from an LXG, but I think I'm misconstruing things. I mean, I clearly have. We've got this here. I've done a quick preview. It's not quite dubstep. We're going to listen through it from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it. Let's go. The production is fascinating. It's so raw. It's just so raw, isn't it? What do we say about this one? Whatever it is, we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. And so welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Alex G titled Gnaw, I suppose off the Race album if not mistaken. In this section I'm going to be providing an overall song analysis of this piece, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my general thoughts on it from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? That was the number one reason for why I was not sure what I was going to say in this part. I'm not sure what this track is about. I get the words and I'm hearing them and I understand that there's context for that, and I appreciate that we're trying to be sort of reassuring that we're not going to tell anyone the person's secrets, and that, we don't need to necessarily be so worried about the closeness there, we're just simply just people, etc. I'm just not sure. I need different times to listen through it. And I think what I've come to recognize is while I do want to know what a song's about, I think on a first listen perspective, a lot of it comes down to how much the musician wants you to hear clearly. And the vocals in this piece are deliberately quiet sometimes and deliberately loud at others. There is dynamic range, but at the same time, it is so kind of like cooked in the sense that there's just this kind of grain and sort of like kind of drive on it. It's a very rustic performance. That isn't to say it was sung badly at all. I think we hit the notes cleanly and we're going for an intended effect, and I feel it's effective, and this track's got 4.6 million plays. They're clearly very successful. I'm not trying to sort of like minimize their abilities to sort of communicate. But because of that, I think it's a deliberate thing that the vocals are so quiet in the mix. They are surrounded by all the different instruments, and I think maybe when we're talking about the tree and it being carved and everything like that, maybe it's us thinking about what we want to say until we get to the point where we try to be reassuring. Maybe all those noises are different thoughts until the end we're a bit more sort of confident and sort of assertive. Nonetheless, it's very intriguing vocal production, and I kind of like how raw it is. It's not overproduced, and it kind of flies in the face of a lot of what is assumed or people are told about in terms of making music in 2020, the 2020s. Oh, it needs to be pristine, it needs to be professional, etc. And I think this is kind of like a counter argument or the antithesis of that, in the sense that it is successful despite the fact it's not the cleanest sounding recording you're going to get. And outside of the vocal performance there, that I feel it does some really cool stuff, like it harmonizes or reaches unison with some of the guitar parts on the other side of the stereo field. I think we just had the vocals on the far side and then the guitars going off on the other, and that's a sort of interesting asymmetry. And that's not something that's unique to the vocals and the guitar when they're together. You have that first part of the track, and then there's this guitar on this side, on one side, and it stays like that for a bit, kind of like it's gnawing away at you. But it sounds really cool. And it's kind of out of tune or a bit detuned, maybe, I'm not sure. And that sort of detuned, whether deliberate or not, creates a sense of dissonance, which I think does work well with the title of it. Maybe there's like a guilt that's gnawing at us, I'm not sure. But the mystery and the approach to it does make you more curious because it's not as clean sounding as you might expect. I think the fact that we're very comfortable with our steel strings is great. We have some kind of fizzy sort of coiled guitar lead parts that are kind of almost disdainful in their approach. They've got a nice glow to them though. The drums have this room sound to them. Like you can tell they've been recorded in a room on an acoustic kit. And I do like that they're using brushes, I assume, or maybe sort of sticks, but either way, you can hear the buzz of the room. You can tell they're literally recording together or that they've tried to record it at pace, and just there's a nice sort of amalgamation of components because the underlying sort of fuzz of it doesn't alienate other parts because it's all very rustic. And we've got like a mixture of different like low, maybe like kick parts there that are a bit more subtle than the snares, but the snares kind of have this sort of train motion going to them that's really sweet. And we have our cymbals as well. We have little ride hits and everything like that, little shimmers and stuff like that. And we have breaks and pauses which help to sort of provide a sense of sort of chapterization for it, or sort of like a segmentation of it, to help you go through this piece, which it is 3 minutes 21. To be fair, it's not that long. It doesn't feel that long. The track flies by. It's just such a fuzzy tone with that guitar on the left though. It's almost kind of rough, a bit too rough for my tastes, but I suppose it's a deliberate decision. I'm making allowances based on the success I've had. Because I think they have double tracked the vocals in some parts as well. It's just that it's very organic for them. And there's little harmonics and extra little strums and stuff on the left as well. And there's some really pretty chimey stuff going on around the 35-40 second mark there with the guitars in the upper register though. And you also have the vocals coming up into the upper register with some sort of falsettos or head voice, kind of just sung notes or melodies there that are kind of catchy sounding and help to sort of balance out maybe some of the harshness of other bits. Ultimately, the structure of it, I think, is potentially through composed. I don't think they're trying to sort of create a typical verse, chorus structure here, which makes it seem more like a story. I think that's just a smart idea. It makes it a bit less kind of generic. And so we kind of come to a point where the overall theme, I think the progressions are kind of majorish and very sort of like wistful. Major and minor chords with a brightness, a focus on the brightness of the individual components there. A sense of, again, harshness from some of the overdriven tones and the kind of grittiness or dustiness of those. But at the same time, we're going for an uplifting feel with the major leading overall, and it's almost kind of melancholic, I suppose. because you don't hear the vocals necessarily trying to be super positive. You know, you don't really know where you stand with it. It's like we're working through a process. Like, this isn't the start and end of it. And when we say dry your eyes, I won't tell your mother, maybe all the thoughts we've had, all the doubts we've had are being sort of satiated or settled at that point. And I think it's more about the journey along the way with what you can get from the story and how it kind of comes together, and more about the band maybe supporting the vocalist rather than trying to establish too much from a chordal perspective to give you too much of a mood. It really is vocal oriented, should I say. It really is vocal oriented despite the amount of different instruments and different sort of passages and parts we have in there. You do really need that context. But the studio recording, mixing and mastering, I think is, it's kind of rough and harsh, but it's done deliberately. Like, things are mixed in a way where they shouldn't be that loud, but you kind of allow it because you know they're doing it on purpose. There's room sound, but it's done in a way where, like, yeah, at least you know they're really playing their instruments. It's a stylistic decision here, and it's very rare that you can get away with it, but there's just certain genres where you can, and this is one of them. It's kind of folk, kind of indie, super niche kind of style there, but it's nice and loud without pumping. Definitely no pumping, so the bus compression limiting is handled. There are resonant frequencies, but they're left in there on purpose. And yeah, it's nice and loud. It's a good track. There's no applicable constructive critique on my part because I understand what it's trying to do. From a general listener's perspective, I didn't necessarily get a lot from this. I don't know. I need multiple listens to really get the hang of it, but also I don't know. Some of the relative harshness isn't really necessarily my vibe. I kind of like when if I was in the, it's something I need to be in the mood for. I think you need to be able to maybe relate to the story of LXG, or maybe know more of the sort of the lore of LXG to kind of understand how this flies into it. When you're kind of going in there on a first impression, it's kind of a little bit kind of tricky, but ultimately, nonetheless, I appreciate the musicality of it, and I appreciate the freeness of expression there. I think if we were to sort of neuter ourselves to try and avoid that, I think, or if we were to sort of produce this more, it could be mixed better, but it would sound different. I think this is the sound that LXG wanted. So thank you very much for watching my review of this track from an act named LXG titled Gnaw. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as I need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SB Reviews. Spiderhands out.